Good morning. We're live. Welcome to this short webinar, this walk-in, the first walk-in that we organize as Ichicraft to show our story and show our product in not more than 30 minutes. So hold on tight. We'll run through everything I have to share. If you have any questions along the way, please put them into the Q&A. We'll see if we can answer a few of them at the end, but otherwise we'll get back to you after this walk-in. Today, in these 30 minutes, what I will take you through is a bit of the background of Ichicraft, of our company. I would like to dive into the evolution of the digital workplace, look into challenges for users and organizations in the modern digital workplace and the modern hybrid working environment, and I'll introduce you to the Ichicraft boards. I'll wrap up with a bit of a demo of those boards. So let's get started and have a quick look back at Ichicraft as a company and where it has its roots. And its roots actually lay in a project which was realized for a Dutch bank called Rabobank. And that bank moved into the cloud, as many of us and our customers did, of course. And inside the cloud, they were looking to engage their users in new ways, novel ways, engage them better, and make the internet more interactive. So as a result of that in-house project, Ichicraft and Ichicraft boards and widgets were born, and they were launched to 35,000 users there. After another year of fine-tuning the product, it was decided that this product could be sold standalone to a broader market. And early 2020, the product, as we know today, was launched. Most of last year, a lot of time and effort went into further crafting that employee experience. And as we stand today, we're expanding our partner network outside the Netherlands as well, across Europe, and likely also into the Americas. One great upside for us as well is that also Microsoft has realized that the age of employee experience has started. So you've all seen a lot of noise around Microsoft Viva, and I'm happy to say that we integrate extremely well with Viva connections. And that's where we position the product a lot as well, although we also work across SharePoint and on mobile. So let's get to point one, evolution of the digital workplace. It's an everlasting journey of creating more employee value. And in the past 20 years, that has took us past a couple of topics that you might recognize quite well. First, we started off with building portals, creating links to all things inside the company. Those quickly developed into intranets, and with that, of course, also offering files and news to people. But in many cases, that was not enough. So and many customizations were done, and most of those customizations for the consultancy firms that were repeating them over and over and over again led to internet in a box solutions. So that's what we see today a lot in the market. Take a internet in a box and realize your internet quickly, or maybe not so quickly. And at the same time, we saw the emergence of social intranets. So as we looked for more engagement and more employee value, we looked in envy to sites like Facebook or other social media that had very high engagement. And we hoped to bring that engagement into our companies by launching a social intranet, either inside the Microsoft ecosystem or outside. But this is roughly 20 years of SharePoint and 20 years of evolution that's behind us. And I would argue that today we are entering into a new phase, a phase where we find us and our customers in the cloud with an abundance of applications, needing training, needing adoption, and moving into home offices or hybrid working environments. The employee experience has become more important than ever. And there's actually a very distinct thing going on, a change, I think. For the past 20 years, we're very technology driven. As new versions of servers came out and new features and services, we've been adding that to the stack and integrating that into our intranet. But on the other side, moving into the cloud, you actually move in that world of abundance that you have not only the Microsoft ecosystem, but so many different other SaaS applications that users want to use and want to combine. And we have to be so much more aware of what it takes to make that user happy and productive. So things have become and should become, of course, more and more user driven and give that excellent employee experience. Another way to look at it is that for those 20 years, we've been creating repositories, places that, as the average user, you can visit. Some users get the most out of it, but the majority of employees still today say, now the internet is just one of many places where that I can visit. It's certainly not the place where I work. That place where I work was Outlook, was maybe a CRM, an ERP, maybe in Office files. Today, more and more that becomes Teams as people collaborate there and looking to add other apps and other experiences there. That is a place where people consider they do part of their work. On that side of the user-driven approach, that's actually where the project started for Ichicraft, and the company was founded to drive that employee experience and to make that unique and personal. That is of importance is, of course, nothing new. We've been in the pandemic for more than a year, and all of us have seen this surge in working digitally and remotely. And I think that also our team leaders, managers, the board of companies are also now experiencing their own digital workplace and sort of the gaps inside that digital workplace. Because across all of this activity, there's not one single application where you can find not even all of this, let alone other things that we work on throughout our day. So without a doubt, work has become very digital and very remote, and is really begging for a single solution that can sort of bring people all of this without people having to go around and look for it. That brings me to some of the challenges that we see that users face today, that the employees in our companies face today. And that is, as I said, they need many apps to get the full picture and switching between those apps throughout the day. All of those apps tend to look different, have a different look, feel, experience, also have different settings like power user settings to make them be used in an optimal way. So that leads us to introduce a lot of training to employees and hope to onboard them to a lot of different experiences. Also brings us to having to explain what to use for what and how to use those things. And that's really a phase that we're in today. Those employees, though, still have to think often where to look for that information. So where is my file exactly? Was it shared through my OneDrive? Was it an attachment? Was it in one of my many teams hidden in the files somewhere? And the same, of course, goes for reports or messages. You always have to think, where did I see that particular message and how can I find it again? Also, all of those experiences, we have to adapt to technology. We cannot adapt what we see to us. And actually moving in the cloud, everything has become more plain vanilla. One size fits all, take it or leave it. You have to, as an employee, adapt yourself to the application. You cannot do much the other way around. So what this leads to is that especially knowledge workers are switching a lot between different apps that they use 6 to 10 times an hour. So there's a lot of app switching going on to get the work done. And in all of this app switching, there's 30 seconds lost here, there's 1 minute lost there, 2 minutes here, and all of this adds up throughout the day. And if we were not already busy enough with all of the digital meetings, that also introduces stress and fatigue. This app switching is certainly a very big factor as well of our current working experiences. If we look at the company, because companies of course are trying to solve this problem for their employees, but they have their own challenges. They have many different applications and a lot of information, and this is just growing by the day as new things get introduced. And there's no sort of native way to target all of the application and information to users inside the company. A lot of companies have invested in identifying personas, a day in the life of, And there sort of the project stops, because how do you get all of those digital experiences to follow that pattern that you just designed and have that targeted to different personas? If you then look to integrate that into a digital workplace, a single digital workplace, that's quite complex. A lot of investment that we've also seen in the past 20 years in making the internet that place. Over time, were lost against innovation that Microsoft has brought out, or as people moved into the cloud or into modern, they found that that was not working anymore. And it's highly complex to integrate everything into one digital workplace. If then you want to allow customers, or employees, to change that experience to their needs, then that comes at a very high price. So you have to develop something in parallel with which they can change the experience. And it's really take it or leave it. Most of the applications, once you're on and you've adopted your users to it, that's more or less it. So as a company, you cannot today offer a single interface. And that remains a challenge, not only for a company, but also for employees. And the employees in the company are, like most people, what is called constant checkers. So as you have all of these different applications bringing you messages and information, most people, they tend to check those things frequently. Maybe there's something new, maybe it's not. Maybe I have to have a look here. Maybe something was updated there. And just like the meetings that we sit in day from day, also this app switching and this sort of feed switching adds to a bit of stress and then also fatigue at the end of the day. So this has the focus of a lot of companies right now, and of course Microsoft is taking that angle as well with the Viva Insights, for instance. But a lot of that comes from the app switching and not creating that one digital workplace. If we thought that digital workplace would be the internet, and if we could consolidate everything there, then the past 20 years has shown us that we've come to a point where not even half of the workforce is actually interacting with the internet. And I think the problem there is that it was very news driven always, maybe sometimes file driven, but in the end, it's just another location that you can visit. Something that you would do a few times a week or one times a week to catch up on the news, but that's not where you get your work done or where your attention is asked. The attention is asked from other colleagues, from other apps in your digital workplace, not necessarily from the internet. So the internet as such is not a solution to this problem. What we believe is a solution to this problem are our Ichicraft boards. And as I said from the very start, what we aimed to do is to provide a employee experience solution, so something that helps the employee and something with which they can get personal wherever they work. So, up until a few weeks ago, it was Teams and SharePoint and mobile that we presented to our users, and more that becomes Viva Connections, because actually Viva Connections comes with a few added benefits that Microsoft has brought us, but I'll show you that in the demo as well. So if we come back to that employee value and that everlasting journey, what we aim to do is to offer that personal digital workplace, something that is unified, where you reduce the app switching, something that's personal, so people can make it their own, so that they can really say, okay, this is my tool for me that I work with. Within this digital workplace, the information is relevant to me. We do that by bringing in widgets that offer relevance, but of course that part of personalization also increases the relevance to the individual user. And the widgets inside the boards are very actionable. So we always aim to not support all of the actions possible in the underlying systems, because for that you can navigate there, but to have the top 70–80% of things that you need to do on emails or tasks or reports, etc., on all of that, to have that actionable. For the company side, we also see to meet their needs in being compliant. All of the data remains inside the Microsoft tenant, doesn't travel outside. We offer a solution to what I mentioned, the different day in the life of and personas that have been defined by the company. We can really tailor that information to the persona. So finally, you can do something with your personas and make them of use, and actually offer users something actionable in their place. We have a relatively small footprint. We were born in the cloud and an API first and rolling up. And this makes us install within 10 minutes into the tenant, and you can sort of get out of the gate running with the solution without a lot of overhead. And we're extensible by nature. So all of the widgets inside the boards that I'll show you, they're built on templates that our partners use, that we use, that our customers use, which they build out additional widgets and experiences for their employees to further enhance that employee experience. So that takes me to the demo of the Ichicraft boards. Let me share my my demo there and bring that live. I believe you should be able to see my screen now. Here I'm inside Teams in the browser, but this works identically on the client. And John here actually has his board already populated. So John gets greeted. He has a few notifications sitting at the top. All of the little boxes down here, which we call widgets, if they have something to tell John, something actionable, then it appears at the top. And all of that is interactive. So if I go in as John and I tick off my tasks here, all of these notifications change at the top. As I ticked off these tasks, what is behind is Microsoft To Do and also Planner, and all of the interactions I actually do on this board are immediate and also in the background. So this is actually plugged in directly into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and all of this we see here is live data. Now John can change his board around to his needs, so he can make that personal. He can give more or less space to things on the board, and goes around and switching to his liking. There are some widgets that he cannot change. This company news widget up here is rolling up SharePoint news and brings that to John. John can click into that news and get the SharePoint news right from in this experience. So he doesn't need to go to any internet. He can just read the news, like it, comment, interact with it, close it down, and be back at that starting point inside of Microsoft Teams. Now this widget cannot be changed. What John can do is he can go in and he can change some of the content that's rolled up. There are some essential sites that actually communications has determined he needs to see. But actually some of the magic behind this is that these sites are not single sites that you nominate for everybody, but this group of sites can be targeted at an audience. So John, for instance, being part of HR, John can have a different set of essential sites that he follows than somebody else in the organization. And all of that audience targeting depends on Azure AD groups. So just follow Microsoft in this, and you can take your security groups or your Microsoft groups and make this work for personas like John inside HR. But John has some other options. So John can go in and he can also maybe load some other sites and add this to his feed and change his feed. So he has some information pushed based on his profile, but he's also able to customize a few things from right in here. And that's actually something that sits across all of these widgets. So if I take the reporting widget here, John can go in, he can sort of sort which reports he sees, but he can also go in and add other reports. Again, because these reports have been made available to him, targeted, he can go through and see the other things that he'd like to see in this experience here. But this is when John is sort of completely configured. Let's go and look at the initial experience of John. What things look like, let's say, on his first day of work. That audience targeting that you saw inside the widgets, and that also applies to the content, also applies to the boards as a whole. So John can be part of HR and then automatically get a board provisioned. But here I'm showing a different experience where John gets to choose. So it's up to you. Either John is pushed this information or he gets to choose a board. If he gets to choose a board, he can have a look at, for instance, the board of the sales team, or in his case, board of HR, see what the board gets populated with, and let's choose HR and let's get started. So now John has his widgets pre-provisioned and he can go through and start adding widgets, but he gets a bit of an instruction before. Adding widgets, moving widgets, some of the things that we saw, resizing them, the concept of the locked widget that I talked about, configuring widgets that we looked into, and you can also remove widgets from the board under more options. Now, if the board is becoming very full, or John wants to break out in separate boards, or as a company you want to offer separate boards, you can do so by adding new boards, but I'll do that in a minute as well. So John's in here and he gets this sort of initial experience, and maybe John already working in different applications might decide that from now on he wants to close down his Outlook. Now, that's very well possible by bringing in his inbox and of course his upcoming meetings, and maybe giving that a little bit more space because he wants to see what's on tomorrow, and his to-do. Basically, this covers everything that was his Outlook, and now he doesn't have to go into Outlook directly to see if something's going on. You can just go and hover across his inbox, see the messages, and have some quick actions. If though, as said, he needs to break out in the full experience, you can either click this icon here or click the title and go there, and start doing the sort of advanced stuff in Outlook itself. But right here, you have all of the quick actions that you might need to perform. Same, of course, goes for meetings. So this actually shows us how much time we have between meetings. But once we hover over the meeting itself, we get to join the meeting directly from here. And since we're already in Teams, we sort of remain in Teams. We can open up the files as well that are associated. But again, we can break out in the full experience if we maybe want to schedule some sort of recurring meeting, which is something that's not supported in this small view right here. To sort of continue that story, I mean, beyond just the Outlook things, John can of course bring in his documents right here. He can go and launch apps from here. And also here, if John needs to change any of these apps, here it's provisioned as a set of HR apps to him, but he can go in and change the order of the apps as he'd like to see them, add other apps from a catalog of apps that's provisioned to him. Now, today we can already launch SaaS applications here, and we're able to launch the Citrix virtual apps and Windows Virtual Desktop. And at the moment, what we're investing in a lot is, and that's something that actually I'll save for the next walk-in, the launching of Teams apps from right here, but also the launching of, for instance, VMware virtual applications. So that this small sort of harmless little launcher here actually becomes a universal launcher for everything inside your digital workplace. So you can stay here on your page and launch anything and everything directly from inside your digital workplace. You can, of course, also change the way this looks. And you can see here that the changes are dynamic. And what actually happens is that all of these widgets come with a preferred view to show you exactly the best possible view inside the widget. While I'm on the people search here, you can see that also this people search widget is very actionable. I can go in, I can see the presence of people. I can go out and send them an email directly or start a chat again from within Teams. I can go and look at other things that I've exchanged with this person. All of the things that come to us through the Microsoft Graph. So we can look at emails exchanged. We can look at all of the contact details, maybe files that we've worked on together, all from right inside this people search. If I need to find people in a certain department or with job titles, I can go in and set some quick filters and find the people here in the sales department and start interacting with them directly. Now in here we have a number of widgets, but we can go further, of course. We can add additional widgets that we find in here, all within their own categories up here. We can, for instance, take in some other external news. Let's say that John would like to have other news sources from a website, from a organizational news, maybe some interest that he has. So I can go in and look at that feed. And again, quickly just configure other feeds into that overview and populate all of that news that he needs to see side by side. As we're seeing, though, as I add more widgets to this page, there might be a need to break out in other experiences. So if I take this board and click up here in Add Board, I might, for instance, maybe create a space where I put all of my reports. So instead of putting the reports on the page here, I can start building out my own report space and then sort of get all of my reports in there and build that out and change it and select it and make sure that it gets all of the space that it needs. But this concept, of course, we can further expand upon. So there can be a board of reports. There could also be a self-service board. And on that self-service board, we start adding low-code solutions like the leave request from Power Apps, or maybe you would like to leverage the embed widget to start embedding experiences from outside into this environment. So all of that can break out in more customization and more relevance for the user and be more actionable right at his fingertips from inside Teams. Now, as the last thing, what I said is we have a great integration with Viva connections. And that, of course, already came through sort of in this navigation sitting at the top. So we can go in and navigate the rest of the internet from right inside this solution side by side with us, with our boards. We get those quick actions from the Viva connections up here, liking sites, and as we like sites, the news of that will come and roll up into our news widget as well. So all of this also has, an actionable element to it. We can of course reload from here. But we can go through and navigate our intranet. Further to this, there is the Connections app on the left here. So the Connections app brings up some site and some news, but more importantly, it also brings up global navigation. So if John is anywhere inside Teams, in one of his teams or in a chat, he can go back to his board immediately and see that populated again. As a final thing, on the Viva connections, what you might not see from here, but what is a great experience as well, is that it sort of marries SharePoint and Teams together, and also the search will bring you things across Teams and across SharePoint into one search, so unifying the search as well for our users. So as such, for John, this here in Teams inside Viva Connections becomes his personal digital workplace. And he no longer needs to switch between all these different applications, reducing the time lost, but also reducing the stress of not knowing if something's going on in his inbox or with the news or in his reports. But he can make everything actionable right here from inside Microsoft Teams. That concludes the demo for now. I haven't taken you into the back end, but that allows right from inside the solution to configure widgets and board templates for personas. I'll leave that to some other time for when you're really interested. We'll make a bit of a deep dive into how this actually works and how it works technically. Same goes for the extensibility and the templates. Please contact us if you want to look into how easy it is to actually develop additional widgets and bring that into this digital workplace. That brings us to the end of this presentation and of this walk-in as well. I'd like to thank you all for joining, and please know that there is a next walk-in on the 14th of May, and as I already hinted, what we'll do in that walk-in is show you the Universal App Launcher. So that's the thing that we're working on very actively right now. We're working on that with a partner as well, Liquid, also a Dutch company. And in that process, we don't only hope to integrate everything which is Liquid, but we also like to then introduce you to the concept of launching Teams apps from the app launcher. Because as we add more apps to Teams for ServiceNow and Workday and other applications, the app launcher should also be able to make that an integrated experience. Well, with that, I'd like to conclude this session. I'll stop sharing my screen. If you want to get hands-on very quickly, you can see the install link down here, also to be found on the website. That actually gives you a non-restricted trial that you can run in your own tenant and try out the product as is. As I said, it basically is a deployment into a app catalog of SharePoint and rollout on a site collection. And anybody with a bit of experience in that field It should take 10 to 15 minutes to actually get the solution up and running. Thank you for your time, and if you left some Q&A in the chat, I'll have a look there right now and start answering a few of those things. And if not, please get in touch with me for any further insights. My contact details are here on the left. Feel free to take that installation and have a look around the product. And maybe if you've become very curious about the Universal App Launcher, I'll be demoing that in no more than 2 weeks at the same time. So thank you very much for attending, and have a very nice day.